Um, my inclination is to skip this the first one that's on the page where we left off because we did two just like it. It's just finding mean, median, mode. Um, so I think time wise, we're just better off. Let's go to the next one. And hint, 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 hint. Um, right, you're gonna want to pay attention to this one. Hint, 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 hint. I don't know how many we're gonna see like this. But, right, and man, a student scored 92, 85, and 87 on the first three tests. What would they need to make on their fourth test in order to have an A average of 90%? Keyword here being average. So what type of problem is this? A mean. How do you calculate mean? Add up numbers and then divide by how many there are, right? Well, on any type of word problem, whether you were with me before or other teachers before, one of the things you should have been taught is to associate the variable with the unknown. What are we looking for here? The fourth number. So let's just call that x. X is the fourth test score. Score on fourth test, I guess. Score on fourth test. So now let's use the mean formula, which is to add up all the scores, 92 plus 85 plus 87. And then, what do we call the fourth test? So plus x divided by. After you take that fourth test, how many tests will you have taken? 4, yeah. And then what do we want that average to be? 90. Hint, 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 hint. Hey, look, your phone matches your shoes. So now just solve. Actually, you know what? Let's actually simplify first. Let's simplify before we solve. 92 plus 85 plus 87. So tell me, 264. Do I hear 264? X plus 264 over 4 equals 90. Now we'll worry about solving. Times 4 times 4. Hint, 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 double hint, hinty, hinty, hint. X plus 264 is equal to 360 minus 264 minus 264. So on that last test, they're going to have to get a 96. Fax machine. Where are your notes? Yeah, man. Any questions there? Any questions for Shobi? Okay, so now let's go on to the next page. Find the mean, median, and mode for each set of data. So this is going to be real similar. There's not a lot of variety this week. Definitely next week there's more variety than what we cover. We have more days to cover it, but this is basically just mean, median, mode, and box and whisker. Like you have to know the quartiles and stuff. How do you find mean? For the second time today, how do we find mean? Add and then divide. Yeah. So Oh man, mental math 24, 8. I'm getting 64. Tell me if I'm doing it wrong because I'm doing it in my head. Divided by 9. Did I do it wrong? 62. Take that, Nikai. And we're gonna have to round. This is round to the nearest thousand. See, some people ask me, "Oh, Mister, do you take off for rounding?" Well, if you're not told explicitly where to round, I can be more flexible. But here you are being given directions, so you're expected to follow them. How many zeros are there in 1,000? 3. So that's how you remember 3 decimal places. What is 64 divided by 9 to the 1,000th place? 7.111. Okay. In order to do median, we have to put them in order. So let's just put them in order here. There's 4, 4, 4, 4, 8, 8, 10, 10, 12. Yeah, 8, 8, 10, 10, 12. Even though I didn't do it, what did I tell you yesterday was a nice strategy to use to, because even I make mistakes when it comes to putting numbers in order. What can you try to do to make sure you don't skip any? Cross them out. Yeah, cross them out. There are 9 numbers in this set. Is 9 an odd number or an even number? Odd. So when it comes to median, that means there should be exactly one number in the middle. Here it's going to be the 5th number. The 5th number here is 8. So 8 is the median. And then mode is the one that is most frequently occurring. What's the mode here? False. Okay, let's keep on going. Mean, let's add up all. What? 241? Does everybody agree with Jason? 241? Yeah, that seems about right. Anybody disagree with 241 divided by 7? 7 numbers. And you agree? And we trust. What's 241 divided by 7 to the nearest thousand? Say it again? 34 point, what, they need 3 decimals. Is it, and that's not exact, like that's 4285, so 429. And then for median, we gotta put them in order here. This one I'll cross off. So 30, and then 32, and then another 32, and then 35, and 37. No, oops, see? Crossing off helps. 36, and then 37, and then 39. 7 numbers. Is 7 an odd number or an even number? Odd. So just like for 7 periods, there should be something in the middle. The 4th number, which is 30 fizzle. And then the mode, does this set have a mode? You don't have to have a mode, but does this one have a mode? Yes, which one? 32. Caleb, where were you on that one? Slipping. Slipping. Slipping, slipping. Okay. Next one. Any questions so far? So I know there's going to be 5 numbers here, and if I add these up, they're 48, 68. Anybody disagree with that? You got 78. Did I forget to carry the 1? Yeah, I think you're right. 12. Yeah, 78. That's what you got. You told me something else. 78. Now see, this one, there's no need to round, because this one, when we divide by 5, we're going to get an exact number. 13.6. So obviously you don't need to put 0.600. There's not like significant digits. It's just I got a calculator and stuff in your phone. 15.6. All right, median. You can put them in order. This one, since there's not that many numbers, you might even be able to just do it without you still have to put them in order, but you might be able to do it in your head. The one in the middle here is going to be the 16. Put them in order. It's only 5 of them. It's not as hard to keep track of. What's the mode here? Yeah, there is none. If nothing appears more than once, there's no mode. And you okay? You look serious today. Oh, you don't have glasses? What? Like you can't want to move? You want to switch in the car or something? Okay, this one's is this the exact same thing? Oh yeah. Oh, well, no, it's not. They changed the 20 for the 12. Okay, I guess this is nice for comparison's sake. Let's take a step back and look at this just before we continue, just to kind of get an idea of what should happen. By changing, really all that's going to happen for number 3 to number 4 is that we're changing a 20 for a 12. Everything else is the same, right? So should the mean be affected? If I change a 20 for a 12, should the mean be affected? Of course, it's going to go down. Yeah, the average is going to go down. Should the median be affected? Yeah, because we're changing a number on the high end for the low end. The median doesn't necessarily have to be affected. Like if you're swapping out two numbers that are either both above the old median or both below, it might not be affected, but in this case it is. And then is the mode going to be affected? And this one, it's still going to be, there's no mode. There's still going to be mode. But now when I add 30, 30, I'm getting 70. Ah! No, 70. I was right. Jada. 70. 70 divided by 5, that should be 14. And the median, again, you're supposed to put them in the middle, so don't think, it's not that I'm not putting them in the middle. Since that with only 5 numbers, I can do this in my head. It's also going to be 14.
And your signature. There's 3 pages.
Okay.
So like one right there.
I'm just his teacher for advisement. Yeah, advisement. So.
Okay.
You want to go back and ask to make sure?
I will go back and ask it because it's like all of today, and they just verified last page.
Got you.
This is my person here.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, thank you.
Just let me know. Okay. Ooh, negatives. Fun. Okay. Mean. Well, since they're all negative, you're just going to add them and keep the negative. There's 6 of them. There's 6 numbers. That's 18, 26, and 12 is 38, negative 38. And this should have to be rounded. 30, 19 divided by 3. That's 6.33333, negative 6.33333, negative 6.333. What's the median? This is the first time we have an even amount of numbers. Here, I'm gonna, even though this is a small amount, I can do this in my head. I'm still gonna write these out. With negatives, remember that the bigger the negative number, the smaller it is. So this would actually be negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 6, negative 6, and then negative 5 is the biggest. When you have an even amount of numbers, you're supposed to take the average of the two in the middle. But if I add negative 6 with negative 6 and divide by 2, what am I going to get? Still going to get negative 6. And then the mode here also happens to be negative 6. So there's 3 of them. Any questions? All right, making progress, making progress. A student has the following grades in a math class. Ooh, they got a 0 in there. Bad student. Which measure of center do you think should be used to determine the student's grade and why? Okay. Well, we already talked about this. What's typically usually the best measure of center? Yeah, median tends to be the best measure of center. But anytime they ask for like what's the best, you have to consider, well, in whose best interest is it? The student is going to want the grade that ends up being higher. Even though you guys think that the teacher prefers the grade that's lower, that's not necessarily also the case. We all want higher grades. So let's actually do it. Let's do this one in that respect. We're going to assume that all parties involved want the student to have the higher grade. So let's go with whatever is the biggest one. When we add all of these up, how many are there? Those zeros really hurt. Okay, you know what? Let's do this just for fun, so that you guys see how much a 0 hurts you when you don't do something. Let's actually do both averages. I'm only going to write the one here. Let's do first as is, which is that we're going to be dividing by 10. There's 10 scores. Somebody add all those up, and then let's divide it by 10. What'd you get? 823. So when I divide that by 10, I get 82.3. They have an average of 82.3. But let's pretend that 0 came at the end. So like right before they got that 0, they had the same amount of points because the 0 didn't add to my 823, but they were only dividing by 9. Do 823 divided by 9, just for fun. $91.4. So by that 1 0, their average dropped 9 points. By that 1 0, just to show you. It's bad to get zeros. You can survive with S if you consider your S to be like in the 50s and 60s. I mean, it's not great, but you can survive with them. It's just those zeros kill you. All right, for median, we're supposed to put them in order. There's a few more of these, so I'm going to make sure I don't screw this up. 0 would obviously be the lowest. 80. 80, then 90. Jay, that's all your fault. 85, 90, 92, and there's 2 of them. And then 94. There's also 2 of these. And then 96, and then keeping it 100. Is that 10? It is. So with an even amount, we want to take the average of the 2 in the middle. With 10 numbers in a set, the 2 in the middle are 5 and 6. So the average of the 5th and 6th number here, we also happen to get lucky. It's pretty easy because they're both the same. What's the average of 92 and 92? It is 92. Wait, I don't get it. What do you mean? Add 92 plus 92 and then divide by 2. And tell me what you get. You don't have to do it. It's going to give you 92. Trust me. How about the mode? What's the mode here? Yeah, here there's multiple modes. Just the same way it's possible to have no mode, you can also have multiple modes. If more than one number occurs the most frequently, and it's more than one obviously, then you can have multiple modes. So the mode here is 92 and 94. There's 2 modes. So, assuming that everybody wants the student to have the best grade possible, what would be the best measure of censor? If they're using average, that's the student's grade, 82.3. If they're using median, that's we're not going to count mode. Mode's not a measure of center. I mean, I guess it technically could be, but it's not a very good one. So between mean and median, what would be the? You'd rather have an 82.3 than a 92? Yeah, the median would be the best one. And if you were actually listening, I think you were because it was towards the beginning of yesterday's lesson. Okay, we talked about why is median typically a better measure of center because it's less susceptible to extremes. Okay, this, you know, if I were to, okay, remember that we had a formula for outliers, right? We did. I'm not gonna go and do a full box plot on this, but there's definitely one number here that if you were to do a calculation would come out as an outlier. And what would definitely come out as an outlier here? Which of these scores would definitely 100% come out as an outlier? Hmm? Yeah, 0 for sure. The 80 might also, and I'm not going to go through it, but definitely the 0, right? So what did that 0 do? That 0 was so way out of left field. That 0 was so out of character that it brought down the mean. The mean gets affected by the outlier. Okay, what do you think would have happened if all these scores would have been really low? Let's say somebody's doing really bad, getting 20s and 30s, but then instead of just getting one random 0, they have mostly low scores, but now they get a random 100. What do you think would happen? Well, now the median would be much lower because the big majority of the scores are low, but that mean would shoot up a little bit higher because the mean tends to sway more. The mean is going to be affected more by extremes, by any outliers. If you have any outliers, that's going to affect the mean more than it does the median. And in this case, since the outlier was, and I don't know, some of these might, I think the other ones are, I think the only one here that might be an outlier might be the 80. The 80 could be, but it's not worth it really to go into to find the interquartile range and multiply times 1.5. You can do that on your own. But the fact is, 0 is going to clearly be an outlier. It's not even close to anything else. And look at what 0 did to the mean. It dragged it down. It didn't really affect the median. What was the average that you told me? You said 91.4. Is that what you said? If it wouldn't have been for the 0? If we take that 0 out of there, it was 91.4, you said? Well, 91.4 is very close to 92. If it wasn't for that outlier, the mean and the median would have been more or less the same. But then when you include that one outlier, the median still stays around where the center should be, but the mean drops a lot. Any questions there? Yeah, this is still a student's grades. I want to get through the whole. Let's yeah, let's give 7. Let's just do 8. I think everything I wanted to do was 7. We accomplished with 6. A college wanted to list a meaningful statistic in a brochure showing the ages of students attending their college. Below is a random sample of their students. What measure of center should be used in the brochure and why? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think colleges really care if you're old or not. I mean, so like as far as this why part, I don't really think you get a benefit from being younger. So I mean, I'm gonna say to put the median. These things are not gonna show up on the quiz as far as like opinion and stuff. Um, but whatever, let's calculate it anyways. Now there's a lot more scores here, so the median is gonna be fun. Meaning you need to put all of these into a calculator. Jiju. Let's do. Come on, Caleb. Ready, set, calculate, man. You can do it. You don't have a calculator, notes, anything? What did you bring today? You told me you pointed to your head when I asked you where the notes were. What would Trey Young say? He would be so disappointed with you right now. Hmm. They had a text selector. Did anybody add up those numbers for me already? What'd you get? 6. Everybody agree with that? How many number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20? Getting 20 there? So that should be 32.7? No. 31.7? Huh? No, it can't be 30. Huh? For number 8. I'm doing number 8. In my head, I'm getting 31.7. Be the average. The median, oh man, that stink. What do we say? What's the lowest? 19. And the 20s. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what? How about this? In order to save time, I know that there's 20 numbers, right? So what numbers are going to come in the middle? 20 is an even number, so there's going to be 2 numbers in the middle. What are the 2 numbers in the middle? Well, the 10th and the 11th. So all I really got to do is count up to 10 and 11 and take the average. So far, I have 7, right? There's 7 numbers. So now I got to go. So the 8th would be 21. The 9th would be 22. The 10th would be 23. And then the 11th would be 24. So Jada, you said 23 and 24? So the median here would be 23.5. The mode is the one that occurs more. I'm guessing the 20. It's got to be 20. There's no 20 shows up the most. So which measure of center should be used in the brochure and why? I mean, I guess it depends on what they want. If they want to look younger, if they want the school to look younger, what should they use? Huh? The mode? Well, I mean, I guess the mode isn't really. Let's stick to these two. You don't realistically use mode ever as a measure of center. Which one should they use? Yeah, median. If they want to look older and more mature, then the median is apparently a 79-year-old person. That person's really affecting the mean. All right. A person at the mall purchased 4 shirts at an average of $14. How much did the 5th shirt cost if the average of after the 5th shirt was purchased to be 16? All right, good. Here, this is another one. Hint. You're gonna want to pay attention to. If I already know that the first first 4 shirts cost $14, it doesn't really matter how much each one costs because I know if I add them up and divide by 4, like that's what it's going to give me. So I can just pretend that each of those shirts exactly cost 14, and I can treat it like I did the first one. So the X is going to be the cost of the 5th shirt, just like before with the test score. And I will go 14 plus 14 plus 14 plus 14, or even do 14 times 4 is fine. Plus that 5th shirt, which is X, divided by 5, and what's the average after the 5th shirt? 16. So 14 times 4 is 56, so X plus 56 over 5 is equal to 16. Multiply times 5. X plus 56 is equal to 80. Minus 56, and that last shirt was pretty expensive. It cost $24, which made sense because if after the first 4 shirts average 14, if that last shirt caused the average to go up, what did we know already about that last shirt? If it causes the average to go up. We know it has to be more expensive. We don't know how much more expensive, but we know it has to be more expensive. So $24. If we can cut it down to 2 pages for tomorrow, that'd be awesome. List the hours students from your class slept last night from the board. Okay, I don't want to do that. Let's skip that warm up. To draw, okay, here we go. To draw a box and whisker plot, you need 5 data values. This is like a guided. They want us to do this whole activity with this thing. All right, instead of using those numbers here, why don't we pick one of these problems that we skipped? Perfect. Let's do this. Let's do a box and whisker plot of this number 7 here that we skipped. Can somebody just read to me those numbers? 70. Okay. And which one? 88. So there's what? 10 numbers. What measure of center does a box and whisker plot revolve around? I'm not gonna do the mean, median, mode thing. We've done enough of that already. Huh? Yeah, median. It's gonna revolve around median. So in order to find the median, I need to put these in order. So let's put them in order. We got 67 comes first, and then 68, and then 70. 67, 68, 70. There's 2 71s, 72. 90, no, 88, good. 88, 92, 98, and 100. So with 10 values, we look in the middle. And for the first time, this hasn't happened today yet. We have two different numbers. I know it happened one time. I do it the other one day. If we add 71 plus 72 and divide by 2, we're going to get a median of 71.5. We can go ahead and fill up this information that's going to help guide our box and whisker plot. What's my minimum value here? 67. What's my Q? Okay, to find Q1 and median we already know. Median we know it's 71.5. Maximum is 100. When there's an even number and you're gonna calculate the quartiles, you leave everything in. You cut them in half. How many numbers are there on each side? 5. Because 5 is an odd number, now you pick the one in the middle. So Q1 is going to be 70. Q3 is going to be 92. When there's an odd amount, you take the one in the middle out. When there's an even amount, you leave everything in. Okay, does that make sense? Are you kind of thinking? Just because I put a box around these two in the middle doesn't mean we take them out. You only take out the median when there's an odd amount. If there's an even amount in total, you just put them into their teams. The low half and the higher half, and then you pick the median of the median. So my Q1 is 70, my Q3 is 92. Therefore, now let's go do interquartile range. Okay, my interquartile range would then be 92 minus 70, which gives me 22. If I then get that 22 and multiply it by a factor of 1.5, it's always times 1.5, then we get 33. So in order for us to have any outliers, we would have to have an element of data fall either 33 below Q1 or 33 above 92. Now we're going to assume that we don't know what we're measuring here, like that these, I realize that these are test scores. The highest you could go is 100. But see, what we're looking for here is 70 minus 33 is, what is it, 37? And then 92 plus 33 is 125. So do I have anything that's less than 37 in that data set? No. Do I have anything that's greater than 125 in the data set? I realize if we know that they're test scores, you can't even go more than 100, but who knows what we're measuring. So this data then does not have any outliers. No outliers. Okay. So let's draw the box and whisker plot then. It helps to. This might not be perfectly the scale, but what goes on the edges of the box? Yeah, the quartile. So let this be 70 and let this be 92. The median goes in the middle, so to try to make it as accurate as possible, it's 71.5 closer. Label, but did it have the numbers? Yeah, just have the numbers. I'm not going to draw a number line. I'm just going to label the numbers. So 70 and 92. The median of 71.5, is it closer to 70 or 92? It's 71.5 closer to 70 or 92? 70, yeah. So definitely this little line here in the middle. It might not be perfectly to scale, but it definitely needs to be closer to 70. So the 70, 71.5. Okay. Now, when we draw our whiskers, that's the box. When we draw the whiskers, the minimum is 67. So try to keep things relatively like where this will probably be 67. Is 67 an outlier? No. So you can draw a whisker all the way to 67. That's 67 there. On the high end, 100, probably being somewhere a little further out, is 100 an outlier? Was 100 an outlier? No, it wasn't. Draw a whisker there. 100. There's your box and whisker. I guess you're supposed to also have points here. Sometimes you'll see this line continue through the middle. That's fine too. Jason, is that confusion face? No. Is that book bag on your desk face? Sorry, it bothers me. All right, sweet. If we can get through this page, that's fantastic. It means we only have 2 sides left, and then we can all get hundreds on Friday. Create a box and whisker plot for this data for the prices of 24 different brands of backpacks. Oh, please. Oh, they didn't put them in order. Son of a gun. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, 21. I was 24. The other 20 was 24. All right. Yeah, I'm just gonna write them in order. I don't want to mess this up. What's the cheapest one? $15. So 15 is the cheapest. Then 25, and there's 2 of them. If I have 24 elements of data, what's going to be in the middle? What numbers are in the middle of 24? 12 and 13. So 25 is gone. 27. Then 28. Okay, 29. There's a 30, you said? 32. 32. 33. 35. And another 35. Another 35. Another 35. So 435 so far. 535. There's another 35 there. There's 540s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 40s. 42. 4 50s. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4 50s. I'm gonna run out of space. 1, 2, 3, 4 50s. And then what? 75? That's probably gonna be an outlier. And I think that's 24. All right, so now let's, the minimum then is obviously 15. The maximum is 75. The median is going to be the 12 and 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so those are both 35. So the median is going to be 35. Is 24 an even number or an odd number? Even. So for the quartiles, you would leave everything in and just break them up into 2 teams. So the first 12 and the last 12. But then unlike the last one that we did, is 12 an even number or an odd number? Yeah, 12 is an even number. So I got 12 numbers on each side now. Yeah. So I'm going to have to, again, split the middle. There's going to be 2 in the middle. The middle of 12 is 6 and 7. So the 6th and 7th number here are 29 and 32. 29 plus 32 divided by 2 is going to be 30.5. I'm getting 30.5. And then on the back end, the 6th and 7th number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 40 and 42. So that gives me 41. So my interquartile range is 10.5. And when I subtract the two quartiles, 41 minus 30.5, I get 10.5. Does anybody disagree with me there? Okay. So, all right, I guess we haven't talked about this stuff, how to break these down. If the median is in the middle, that means that 50% of the prices are below the median, 50% are above. Since the quartiles are in the middle of the middle, there's a reason why they call them quartiles. It breaks it up into quarters. Okay, so 25% is below the first quartile, 75% is above. 75% of these numbers are below the third quartile, 25%. It breaks it up into quarters. Okay, 25%, 25%, 25%, and 25%. Quartile 1, the median, which is quartile 2, and quartile 3. It breaks it up into quarters, right? So half of the prices are in between the quartiles. That would be half. What are those prices in between? Half of the prices are in between what? What's quartile 1? What's quartile 1? Yeah, it's in between $30.50 and on the high end, 41. 3/4 of the backpacks cost blank money or less. So if I want to know some money or less, and I want 75% is what or less, well then it would be everything below the third quartile. The third quartile is 41, so $41 or less. 75% of the bags cost $41 or less. What's the range of the data? We talked about range. How do you find range? Range is max minus min. 75 minus 15 is 60. Thank you. Are there any outliers? Okay, here's where we got to do some calculations. You're going to take the interquartile range and multiply it by 1.5. So 10.5 times 1.5. 15.75. 15.75. Does everybody agree with that? And I trust you the most. No, it can't be that. 10.5 times 1.5? Oh, it is. Oh, no, but no. Okay, we're answering two different questions. I want to know just what that is. 10.5. Sorry, 10.5 times 15.7. Okay. So then yes, like once you've established this, then yes, 30.5 minus 15.75. You said what? That was what? 14 point what? 14.75. Then on the high end, 41 plus 15.75. That gives me 56.75. So if we're gonna have any outliers, it looks like we do. Yes, we do. Which ones are the? Do I have anything less than $14.75? No, I don't have anything less than $14.75. But do I have anything greater than $56.75? Yeah, that big expensive one. Which price is the outlier? The 75. Maybe that day they were just feeling a little risky. They wanted to splurge, so they splurged all that day. Hey, test scores. I want test scores. They just wanted me to draw it on my own. All right, let's just do a quick. I thought they were going to give me space to draw it, but let's just do it here real quick on our own. Let's do the box. The quartiles are 30.5 and 41. The median of 35. That's roughly in the middle, right? 35 is pretty much in the middle. Maybe it's actually a little closer to 30.5, so you can make it a little bit closer to 30.5. Say that's there. Okay. Then on the low end, the 15. Is 15 an outlier? No, it's not. So you can connect it with the line. But on the high end, 75 is an outlier. So 75 does get its own point, but you don't connect it to the whisker. The whisker would go to the next biggest one. What's the next biggest one? Oh, I erased it. What's the next biggest one before 75? It was 50? So 50 would be somewhere here. That one gets the whisker. You might see the line drawn in the middle to it. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. See how here they don't have the line drawn in the middle? But then I think the one I showed you on the second page had the line drawn in the middle. All right, and we'll stop it there. Any questions there? So then tomorrow we're in good shape because we just have to finish this last one and the last 2 pages. If you want to work on it at home, be my guest.